You are welcome to this study session on business policy and strategy. The course code is BOSS 405 and I'm your lecturer, Dr. O.A. Ogunkoya, FCA. For BOSS 405, the course outlines are as follows. 1. We are going to discuss the concept and definition of strategic and business policy. Secondly, we will look at goals, values, and performance. Thirdly, we are going to discuss industry analysis and the fundamentals of industry analysis. 4. Business industries and competitive analysis, to be followed by analyzing resources and capabilities. The next session will be on organization, structure, and management systems, to be followed by the fundamentals of strategic implementation. That will be followed by the sources and dimensions of competitive advantage. Then the penultimate topic will be cost advantage, then to now be followed lastly by product differentiation. Let's now move to the first study session of this course. The study session 1, as earlier mentioned, will look at the concept and definition of strategy and policy. We are to look at the following outcomes, which are to appreciate the key characteristics of an effective strategy. 2. To comprehend the basic framework of strategic analysis. 3. To recognize how strategic management has evolved over the past 60 years and to also identify and describe the strategy of a business enterprise, that is, understanding how business make their strategy in their organizations. And lastly, to recognize the distinctive features of strategic management among non-profit organizations such as NGOs, churches, mosques, and etc. Now to study session 1, the concept and definition of strategy and policy. Strategy is about achieving success. Strategy is very important to every business organization, and we can find the history of strategy from the French Revolution, from the concept called stratagem. In situations of life and death, it is how you achieve survival. An individual or a business firm with the correct strategy will always survive and win at every time. That is why to achieve your goals, it is important that you have a clever strategy. Let's now define what strategy is. Strategy, according to Alfred D. Chandler, is the determination of the long-run goals and objectives of an enterprise and the adoption of courses of action and the allocation of resources necessary for carrying out these goals. If you look at this definition, it has 3 major important characteristics. Number 1, the determination of long-run goals. Number 2, the adoption of courses of action. And number 3, the allocation of resources to achieve those goals. Strategy is also a plan, is also a method and series of actions designed to achieve a specific goals. According to Henry Mintzberg, he saw strategy as plan, ploy, pattern, position, and perspectives. So it is important for us to now know the future of an effective strategy. The features of an effective strategy are basically 4. Number 1, the goals that are consistent and long term. That is, the goals must be consistent and long term. We are saying that whatever objective or goals in business you want to achieve must not be short term, it must be long term. By long term we mean 5 years and above. And that particular goal must be consistent. Number 2, there must be a profound understanding of the competitive environment. That is, every business operates in an environment, whether internal environment or external environment. So those who are managers of those organizations, be it a university, be it a business enterprise, be it a banking, firms in the banking industry, be it firms in the conglomerate industry, be it firm in the IT industry, we must, to be successful, understand the nature of the competitive environment, which we are going to look into very much more in the course of this lecture. Number 3 is the objective appraisal of the resources. To have a successful and effective strategy, there must be an objective appraisal of the resources. The resources in this sense are the tangible resources, the intangible resources, the resources that are very valuable to the firm. For example, the human resources. For example, the goodwill or the reputation of the organization is very important for an effective strategy to occur. It's important for us to have an objective appraisal. Then lastly, number 4, no matter how beautiful your strategy is, effective implementation is very key. So effective implementation in which there will be no room for 1% failure is very important to a successful strategy. So at this point, I should ask you an in-test question. What is the determination of the long-run goals and objectives of a firm, the adoption of the courses of action, and the allocation of resources? Can you tell me what it's called? So the answer is very simple. It is strategy. The next is to look at business policy. Business policy basically is different from strategy. It is a guide to action, and an effective business policy also must have the following characteristics. Number 1, it must be specific. Number 2, it must be clear. Number 3, it must be reliable and uniform. Number 4, the policy must be appropriate. Number 5, the policy must be very simple. Number 6, it must be inclusive comprehensively. Number 7, it must be flexible. And number 8, the last one, it must be stable. And we can differentiate business policy and strategy in the following manners. Business policy is a blueprint of the organizational activities. It is repetitive in nature, routinized in nature. So the policy of a company may be, in our company, every Friday, we wear blue. In our company, you must address everybody by their first name. Even if they are older than you, don't call them Mr. Alaji, Pastor. You address them by their first name. So that's a policy. Strategy, on the other hand, are organizational decisions that which have not been dealt with before in the same manner, because the environment affects strategy. 2, policy formulation is the responsibility of top level management, while strategic formulation is the responsibility of middle level management. Policy deals with routine daily activities for effective running of organization, while strategy deals with strategic decisions. Policy is concerned with both the thought and actions, while strategy is mostly concerned about the action. And lastly, a policy is what is or what is not done, while strategy is the methodology used to achieve the target as prescribed by the policy. The next item is to look at the features of effective strategy, which as we have done. The next item is to look at the basic framework for strategic analysis. There are 4 elements of a successful strategy, and this is the framework we are going to apply. And we can divide the framework into 2 groups, that is the firm and the industry environment, while the strategy forms the link between the two. The firm embodies 3 of these elements, including goals and values, which we said must be very simple, consistent, and long-term. Number 2, resources and capability, which must be objectively appraised. Then number 3 is the structure and the system, which has to do with effective implementation. Another aspect is the industry environment, which embodies the 4th, which is the profound understanding of the competitive environment. That is, it is as defined as the firm's relationship with its environment, such as the competitors in the environment, the customers in the environment, the suppliers in the environment, government authorities in the environment, and there are frameworks we can use to understand this, such as the SWOT analysis, which we are going to discuss. The next thing is to look at the concept of strategic fit. Strategic fit is defined as the consistency of a firm's strategy, first with the firm's external environment, and second with its internal environment, especially its goals, values, resources, and capabilities. That is, there must be a fit between the firm and the environment. Anytime there is a misfit between the firm and the environment, the firm will not survive. If there's a change in the environment, the firm or the company must try to adjust to the environment. A very good example is the COVID-19 pandemic. When the COVID came, most firms adjusted into moving online. Most firms adjusted into working from home. Okay, it takes an effective strategy to be able to adjust to the environment. It is important that the issue of fit must be stressed here because it relates to the internal consistency among different elements of a firm's strategy. So a fit is one of the components that is very important for us to understand. The next is to talk about the evolution of strategic management. Strategic management has evolved since 1950s from financial budgeting to the 1970s to strategic management to 1990s for the quest of competitive advantage to the present times where we are adapting the turbulence. So the last thing to look at in this session is the importance of strategy. Number 1, strategy is important for decision support system because it supports the system, it supports the management to be able to take effective decision. Another importance is that strategy as the coordinating device. With strategy, it allows firms to be able to coordinate each and every unit of the organization to work towards the same goal, which is called goal congruence, instead of suboptimality. When each of the units of a particular organization are working in diverse manner, it affects the organization. Lastly on that is strategy as a target. For any target, strategy will always assist you to be forward-looking in terms of achieving your future objective. The next thing is to look at how to communicate strategy. We can communicate strategy to our mission statement, our vision statement, and our values. We can go online and check the mission statement of firms such as Cadbury, Nestle, Olabisi Onabanjo University, and we can bring out their mission, their vision, their values, and their goals. And that's how we communicate strategy. The next thing is to look at the corporate strategy versus business strategy. Corporate strategy basically are strategy at the top level of management, while business strategy are strategy at the middle level of management. Next is to differentiate between intended strategy, realized strategy, and emergent strategy. We have to look at strategy in terms of the design versus emergent. Intended strategy is the plan of the organization. Realized strategy is the reality, is what is in the environment. And emergent strategy are things we don't plan for that do come up when we are implementing strategy. So strategic analysis, which is the final one, is for us to look at how do we identify the current strategy. If you want to analyze strategy, the way to do it is to, number one, identify the current strategy of, for example, Olabisi Onabanjo University. Appraise the performance of Olabisi Onabanjo University. Diagnose the performance of Olabisi Onabanjo University. Do the industry analysis of Olabisi Onabanjo University as an example. We also have to analyze the resources and capabilities of Olabisi Onabanjo University as an example. If you are in Cadbury, you can use example of any firm. Then we now formulate the strategy of Olabisi Onabanjo University. Then finally, we implement and evaluate the strategy. That's how we analyze strategy in every firm. And to say lastly that strategic management is not only for profit-making organization, it's also meant for non-profit organizations such as NGOs, religious organizations, civil society, and every non-for-profit organization. Thank you for listening. I hope at the end of this session, you have been able to identify what is strategy, can be able to define business policy, characteristics of an effective strategy, and how strategy can be formulated and how strategy can be analyzed. Thank you for joining me. I will see you in the next session. God bless you all. Thank you.